That's good to know. So let's get some insights and study on what happens when you have financial and time freedom. Has anybody heard about this Himalayan Birkin's bag? No one? So one thing is sure, none of you have financial freedom. Okay, so this bag costs 99 lakhs to start with. Okay. And what's interesting is not about the price of the bag. So there is a documentary in Netflix on depression. Okay. So in Los Angeles, which has the highest per capita income group in the world, so most of the folks who come for the depression clinic had this bag. Okay. So it's there in the Netflix documentary on Mind Explained. Okay. So what's also interesting is, so most of these folks who were there, they had a lot of time. Either they are the relatives of multimillionaires or billionaires, or they are the ex-celebrities. That means they had their peak time in life and they have come out and they don't have much work. Right? So I'm not really want you to judge anything on this, but I just want you guys to keep these points. We will go through multiple aspects of like this. Right? So can anybody tell me what this world map looks like, the color shading? How is this shaded? So there is some data available, 6.5%. Any guesses? Anyone?
Happiness index?
Sorry? Happiness index. Oh, okay, okay. It's very related. It's exactly opposite of that. This is the the percentage of depression of the folks in the country. So if you notice, except the African few countries, rest of the developed countries have more than 6.5% of the depression. Okay. So again, I just want you guys to not judge anything, right? So we're not trying to judge that all the developed countries are depressed people. Okay, let's go further with this. Right, this is again another stats on the trending graph. Right, this is again to do with the depression. If you look at the age group, right, some of the age groups, it has doubled in the last 7 years. The data is available 09 to 17. So right now they suspect in US it's already hit 25%, the depression. Right? So that's one of the key things. So what's also alarming is, right, so there is many of the studies which say that by 2030, 25% of the folks will be depressed in the world. Right? What does it mean? Out of here, right, we have around 35, 40 folks and probably some 100 folks on the call. So 30 to 40 folks are going to get depressed. And what does depression mean? Depression is supposed to be very difficult and suffering emotions. So pain is one thing, suffering is different. And most of the suicides happen because of the depression, very few because of the instinctive results. Okay. So what we are trying to say, so what I'm trying to say is the financial freedom is not, so I've got one guest here from our old colleague, Amit, right? So the financial freedom need not directly proportionally associate with our joy, right? That's the only thing which we have to derive. So does it inversely proportional? We're not talking about that. Then the other things what we have to consider is why is the trend increasing in the history ever? And it is not just for the depression. You take the diabetes, take the heart attack. So every aspect of this lifestyle diseases are increasing in a very, very alarming trend. Okay, I just want you guys to keep this in mind. That's a very important. So I just, in this session, right, all these studies, I just want us to have a self-inquiry. Whether you like it, believe it is a different thing, but you should have a self-inquiry about what we are discussing it, whether is there any truth in that. Right? Then take it forward around that. So every life disease is happening. So now what does the study say? Why does it happen so higher right now when we are in the most advanced state of technology ever in the history of humanity, right? Advanced technology in the sense, so 30 years back, what the royals had, the car, the fastest car, now everyone in the middle class of the world can afford it, right? And whatever went in the first moon mission, that computer, so we have, most of us have more powerful laptops and mobiles than that. I think Samsung 9 was matching with that, right? Apollo 11 mission, right? So in spite of having all of the technology advancement, so unfortunately, some of these lifestyle diseases, joy seems to be missing, right? So there are two aspects which they believe, most of the studies. Again, I want you guys to really pay attention. So two aspects which contributes to this, which has become predominantly, and it's kind of hurting the humanity a lot. So one is comparison. So does that mean we did not compare ourselves with others before? We used to. right? But not to the extent of this. Now, we may say that most of us do not compare so much, right? And we may also say that comparison sometimes inspires us to do better. So both are facts, right? So we don't always, but many times we don't even know how we are comparing ourselves, and most of our goals are driven by the comparisons than the sheer joy and absolute pleasure of it. For example, right, if a leadership team calls, I just want an answer, honest answer, right? I want you guys to listen to this. Tomorrow, if leadership calls to you individually to the room, and they say that they will give you 25% hike, how many of you will be happy? Just to you, how many of you will be happy? Good. Then after 1 month, they announce rest of the organization gets 30% hike. How many of you will be sad? I want an honest answer, right? So that's what is the comparison about, right? We think we are saints, but most of our goals, most of our ambitions, job promotions, salary, house, car is related to comparison. So most of the folks who buy BMW, right, do not know anything about the specs there. They love the exclusivity of it. What I have, most of the common people don't have. I just want us to understand, and it is all good to some extent, but when it crosses beyond a point, it becomes a disease, right? So if BMW cuts its price to 10%, nobody will buy it, right? So I was told that the Rolex, the diamonds, very interesting story is there, you know that? So diamonds, scientifically, artificial diamonds scores higher in every specs and features. So from a scientist, if you text the diamond and real diamond and the artificial diamond scores in terms of the look, the finishing line, the shine, brightness, all indexes, specs wise. But still people pay 10 times more diamond just because of the exclusivity and what it can, how they are perceived. That's the second point. So first is the comparison. The second aspect of it is this one, how we are perceived. I just want you to read this sentence and let me know. I'll read it loud also. Let me know how many of you did not understand. I did not understand when I read it, right? I'm not what I think I am, and I'm not what you think I am. I am what I think you think I am. How many of you did not understand? Okay, many of you, right? So I'll tell you a story, so which will help us to understand this better, right? There were 5 frogs strolling in the forest. So 2 of the frogs fell into a deep pit. Okay, they started jumping up and down to come out. So other 3 frogs saw it, and they saw that the pit was very deep. They cannot come out. They said, boss, don't jump. You're anyway going to die. You will hurt yourself jumping it. They kept saying, please don't jump, don't jump. So one frog gave up and died there. But other frog kept jumping higher and higher and higher. Finally, it came out. It happened to be that that other frog was deaf. And the other frog thought they are cheering it. The other frogs are cheering it. Come out, you can do it, you can do it. So absolutely, our strengths sometimes are not how we see it, how we see others see it, right? For example, if 50% of the people walk out now, it has an impact on how I see myself and how I am presenting. As simple as that. Right? So why is this important? Again, this is the second aspect, which is driving our goals and visions, and that's where the stress and other things also comes out. So I just want you guys to have a distinction of that. So when you are having your goals and aspiration, are these 2 factors influencing it by any chance, right? So just to be aware that. So that does not mean it is wrong, right? But how much of this is helping you? How much of this is hurting you? Now comes the next, right? How do I define what is hurting or what is helping, right? How do I define the joy? So there are various studies are there. There are many books are there on joy. What is most joyful? How do we relieve the most joyful? But what I found relevant was there is something called as emotional guidance scale, so which is written by a lady called Abraham Hicks. So she says that we go through 22 emotions, and she has put it in a ascending order. What is the best joyful emotion to the worst? Okay, and we will talk and see about this, right? So how many of you know him? Dalai Lama. Good. How many of you know him? Who's this guy? Krishna Payar. Yeah, Rocky
Yash.
Bhai, right?
Yash.
Yes. Okay. So as per the, I know the most popular dialogue anybody knows from the KGF 2, violence likes me. So unfortunately, as per the emotional guidance scale, he may be successful, but he's not joyful. All the violence related stuff comes in the bottom of downward spiral, right? So the first one is knowledge, empowerment, freedom, love, and appreciation, right? So what After this scale was put by Abraham Hicks, there was a lot of study has been done, research has been done. What happens in these emotions, right? They've looked at and connected to our brains and saw that the stress hormones, dopamines, the happy hormones, all of those things, stress hormones gets increased in the lower emotions, and whereas this decreased in the higher emotions. Not just that, they're also trying to relate some of the diseases, right? Not the innate one by birth, what happens, right? Whether it is diabetes, depression, and all of those things, they're trying to link it to some particular emotions. Right? So the person having these emotions contributes more of these diseases. Okay? So just I wanted to keep this thought with you guys in mind. So Rocky Boy is, unfortunately, most of the kids are inspired, including my son. Right? But this is this is what the state of Rocky Boy is. Right? After reading this, probably it may change in the next part. So we'll spend more time on this. So is anger always bad? Right? Anger comes in 17th. Okay. So that's the question most of the people ask. Right? And when we were discussing this, right, I was discussing with my friends. So one of my friends said, "Boss, anger helps me a lot. Whenever I get frustrated with the office or at home, I go into the bathroom, close the door, I yell and shout at it. It relaxes me." That is very true. In fact, especially the kids, they use the anger to remove the baggage of hatred and revenge and other things. Okay, as long as we are taking the anger as an interim emotion to remove it, that is good. But it should not happen that you keep having the revenge and hatred and anger as well. So it should be used as an interim emotion. So any emotions to move up is good, right? If it is helps you move up. And the first 7 emotions are supposed to be the best one. So if you are having most of your lifetime in those emotions, that is supposed to be a joyful life. Okay. So I'll just take a pause. Any questions so far on this? So we will keep last 5 minutes. I know there is a lot more wiser people are there to give view around this on the last 5 minutes. Okay, let's move on then. So then there is also a concept of save and survival, not touch upon it, but the simple basic aspect is all of the lower emotions happens when we start doing the work in survival space or save. What is survival space? So you are not going to, I think that's the discussion I and Sachin also was having, right? If you want to be part of the startup, you should not be in the survival space. You can't think what's going to happen to me, right? And it is nothing to do with external factor. That does not mean that if I have 1 crore, I will not be in survival space, right? It is a mental aspect of it. So just to give, has anybody read Viktor Frankl's book on searching the meaning for human? I'll spend 1 minute on this because I don't want to digress so much. So this person has gone through the Auschwitz concentration camp after World War II, which is 5 years he went through that. So 1.5 million got enrolled to that camp, concentration camp. And it's a very horrible, right? They used to give 1 bread loaf, and in 6 by 8, some 20 people have to sleep on top of each other for 5 years. Right? And there is no, the winter is always in negative degrees, but nobody was given a warm clothes. 1.1 million people died. So only, I think, not 1.2 million people died. Only 250,000 people came out, right? It's almost 20% came out and 80%. In that, most of the folks who came out, right, in this book, if you love that book, it's a very small book. I suggest you read it, right? What happens to human beings under the extreme conditions, right? So who came out? He says most of the folks were very positive. They were always taking care of others. They were giving, even if they were getting 1 loaf, they were giving it to others, right? And those are the people who made it through. Rest of the people just had diseases and victim feeling, hatred. They all died en route. And that's a very important aspect to know in that extreme. Okay, same with save. So save is a lot more bigger problem. So once you have built some empire, once you have reached some designation, so once you want to really keep that, you don't want it to go, right? So the best example is coffee cafe day owner Siddharth. I know you guys know or not. So he has been the most successful person for the entire Asia for a few years. For 18 years he did it. Couple of years, some of the turnover went down. He committed suicide. So his wife actually turned it around and make it profitable in 1 year. The coffee day. I don't know whether you guys know the story of it, right? So that is also, save is also very important. So it's very important you be aware whenever we accumulate anything externally big, whether it is designation, fame, or name or wealth, it comes with this fear of saving. Okay? So let's move on to the next one, right? So what do we do and how do we really look at this holistically? So first thing is we need to have a holistic goals. So I will put it in a very broad level, 4 dimensions. There are many tutorials available how you have to plan, right? One of the popular one is Life Book. It's done by a billionaire couples. You can just Google on it. So what are the 12 different aspects you have to look at it? But very important to look at these as a different aspects. Right? Financial, everyone knows. I don't want to talk about it. Probably some of you can take the session on it, right? Next time. Physical goals. So the first one, financial, is the bottom one, is external focused. Rest three are inward focused. Right? It is about getting better version. The physical is again the physical health, right? How good you are, how strong you are, and flexible and other stuff. I want to really focus on mental and emotional on today's topic, right? One goal, and spiritual. Spiritual, I'll talk about it, my definition of it, because it's everyone has their own meaning, right? Mental and emotional goals. This is about how calm you are, right? So how many times you get angry, how many times you go with the extreme emotions, right? So you just need to have the assessment of that, and it's a maturity level which you have to keep growing, right? So mental and emotional, these are all I would call it as a maturity level which we have to keep progressing. Spiritual, in one way, I would say in a simple word, it is your identity. So most of the time, what we do from morning to evening, it depends on the identity. How do you identify yourself? You may identify yourself as a successful or a very good programmer. That's how you'll write it. You may identify in the society as I'm a successful, wealthy man. That's how you will do and choose the things. You may identify yourself as a good father, good husband. So that's how you will do aspects and do things, right? So what happens is with this identity, while it gives us a lot of advantage in the society to look good and feel good, it also has a limitations. I just want us to be aware, right? If you are a successful employee, right, you consider yourself and define yourself as I'm a successful professional, I'm earning well in the society. Whenever it gets questioned, right, whenever you don't get a promotion, or um, God forbid, if you lose a job and other stuff, you get yourself hurt a lot because that's your main identity, right? And you do many things to retain that identity out of stress, right? You realize that you may not be the best at your workforce to get the promotion. You try hard because that's your identity, because that is going to look bad in front of yourself, right, if you don't get it. So that's where the identity comes in. So you should, they say that the spirituality, the best way to start is the 2 questions you have to ask: who am I, why am I here, right? And the answer keeps changing apparently as we go deeper and deeper into it. So it may start with I am just here for chilling out, right? So then it go into the profound meaning of I'm here fifth lifetime for this, and I don't know, right? So you can reach there. So that's about it. So now let's take mental and emotional, right? How do we improve the maturity? So one is the awareness. So how do we know? See, before I started my meditation around 10 years back, right? If anybody used to ask me, right, so you have to do meditation, I thought it is a therapy for somebody who is depressed, right? I'm very good. I learn things, I read some things, and I do okay types in the job. So I don't need this, right? Only when I started doing it, now I realize if somebody asks me how calm you are, I know the trash inside me. So the moment you start focusing on it, you will know it. So people who are working out and doing the yoga, no matter they may look super fit from outside, but you ask them exactly, they will know which body part is inflexible. You ask the person who has never done the yoga, they will say it's all synchronous, man. I'm good, right? It is the awareness is the first step towards it. You should be aware about your mental and emotional maturity currently you are in. So how do you make yourself aware? Right? Some of the dimensions which we don't teach, unfortunately, in this era of the kids is this aspect, right? So how frequently we get extreme emotions. That's one thing. How many of you can sit? How many of you can't sit 10 minutes without doing anything? I want an honest answer. Very good. So that is one of the mental maturity right now. It is nothing good or bad. It's like your physical strength, right? So we have to start somewhere. So that's one thing, right? You just need to realize that that reflects our patience level. Whoever cannot sit, I'm telling you, financial freedom and time freedom is the worst thing to happen to you guys, right? So if you can't sit 10 minutes without doing anything, so try taking 1 week leave. Your family will make you run away to office. Okay, and it's a fact. So another important aspect about mental and spirituality is mental and emotional maturity is you cannot say I will not get angry. There is no subtraction rule here, right? You cannot say tomorrow I will not get angry. So you can plan that out, but more likely it is not going to happen. You should fill in with the good things. right? Tomorrow I am going to fill myself with, I'll walk there and I will have good emotions. I will sing whatever you like it to go be in the good emotions. Right? So that is the other aspects. So not, you should not use it. I cannot get angry never works. So you have to fill yourself with the other things. So it's important that step one is be aware of your current maturity level of emotional and mental. Right? How long you can sit. See, other than that, right? There's a study done. They took a random folks in one of the universities, made them sit for 10 minutes and then observed their mental hormone systems. Seventh or ninth minutes, most of the people had the most stressful and disturbing hormones. Just sitting with yourself, forget about others. We can't even live with ourselves, right? And that's what we have become. And most of the folks, right? It was. I don't have the study with me, but 80-90%, and you guys can do it with your family, right? So just to see. And again, don't judge. Right? It is like the bench press. So nothing is. Each of us have our own journey, right? So the step two, right, is the next step. Once you are aware, then you have to create your vision, especially for mentally and emotional thing. How you want to see yourself, how you want to visualize yourself as the best version, how you want to see yourself in the face of adversity. If somebody shouts, and you will know your trigger once you have the awareness. Boss, my wife says like this, I always get angry. My kid says like this, I get angry. If somebody says like this, if I see this person in the office, I get angry. He is my trigger, remote controls. So we should identify our remote control buttons and then create a vision. How do I react if the most irritating person in the office comes and irritates me again? Right? So something like that. So you should start creating a grand vision of it. Right? I want to be peaceful at all time. Right? I don't want to get angry. So some kind of a vision you should have, because without that, you will never be able to understand and assess your daily situations. Right? So initially you will start feeling regret. Oh man, as per my vision I was supposed to be calm, but I yelled at it. Right? But I don't want you guys to really feel upset about where you are. We have to accept ourselves where we are. It's a journey, right? And none of us probably will take many lifetimes to reach the 100%. And I don't know 100% exists also now. Right? So that's the second thing, right? You have a vision. So third thing is start with a small journey, right? Put some smaller goals for emotional and spiritual these things, right? So first thing what I started is, especially when I was driving in Bangalore, is known for notorious traffic. I will not yell at anybody while driving. Right? This is what, and it's a big thing, okay? And so I remember telling this to one of my friend who was yelling at everyone. Was when he was driving. I said, "Dear, I can't sit next to you. Please stop yelling." It happened a couple of months back. So he could not drive properly because he's used to yelling and driving, right? So first thing I started. So you start with small goals, right? So next half a day, I will not get irritated. First 3 hours or 4 hours with my wife and kid or whoever is the irritating person in life. I will say, no, but these are all the external triggers. You have to understand. And external triggers are not the problem. See, every irritation and frustration, you have to understand, is our boundary condition of our limitation of emotional and spiritual maturity. If this one point, if you can take away for this, that is a big thing, right? If you get irritated, it is not because, yeah, this person is irritating. It is not the case. I got irritated because I reached my boundary condition handling this person. So please use these terms and words, very important, because then the ball is in your court, right? So anything. So if your wife is irritating you, that's a very good challenging test case to stretch, right? So take it as an opportunity to expand yourself, right? So one day I will not get irritated with her. One day I will not get irritated with your friend, okay? On those aspects. Then what happens, right? So this is something I thought, what happens in this journey as you move forward? Right? So you will start seeing some differences in yourself. One is you will start looking for meaning, not just for accumulation, right? So in your goals, you also look for a meaning, right? And then you will start going with the feelings. Many of the decisions you will start going with the feeling. I like this guy, man. I want to do business with him. I like this guy, man. I want to give whatever stuff I want to give it to him, rather than just only with logic what I'm going to give. Then you will start playing more and not just the seriousness. In life, in general, you consider more and more as a play. Empathy, not only understanding. You just not hear anybody, right? You just try to understand and be in their shoes. And in every transaction, and this is one thing which will give you a lot more joy, right? You will also look at what you're giving, then not just getting, right? It could be a contractor you're giving in the house, right? The sand prices have gone up. You'll not just look at the contract. I want to ensure that I'm fair, right? He makes the money and he gives me the business also. And you will have faith, not only plan. And this doesn't apply for the sprint planning, okay? We have to plan, not just have faith. Okay, and then finally, you will have joy, not just success. Right? I'm not saying success is bad, but it has to come with the joy. Okay. Thanks a lot, everyone. Hey, someone has a question? Yeah, yeah, please go ahead on the call. I think any other wise people, please feel free to answer it, okay? I have emptied my cup completely on this. Anybody has a question on the call? Any questions here?
यस।
Yeah, yeah, go ahead.
12th में हमारे जो टीचर थे वो क्या बोलते थे कि आज इंसान खुद के दुखों से उतना परेशान नहीं है जितना वो दूसरों के सुखों से परेशान है। आज की लाइफस्टाइल में या फिर डिप्रेशन में आपने जो ग्राफ दिखाया ना, वो ग्राफ का एक तो रीजन हो सकता है कि आज की लाइफस्टाइल। पुराने जमाने में भी बहुत सी चीजें होती, जैसा कार, नेबर ने कार लिया, कुछ और लिया, तो वो टाइम पे उनके पास जेलसी कम होती थी और वो ट्राई करते थे कि उसकी जगह पे रह के उसकी जगह को जस्टिफाई करने के लिए। लेकिन आज का हमारे लाइफ में कैसा है, किसी ने कुछ ले लिया तो हमको हैप्पीनेस से ज्यादा जेलस फील होता है। सबसे बड़ा रीजन यही हो सकता है मेरे लिए, मतलब मेरे हिसाब से।
Yeah, yeah. There's a popular dialogue in Three Idiot, right? हम लोग फेल हुए, ज्यादा दुख नहीं लगता, हमारे दोस्त लोग फर्स्ट आए। That's unfortunate, but unfortunately we don't realize that sickness when it changes that way, right? So that's the thing, right? 25% hike made us happy, but 30% rest of it made us sad. That is where the slightly the sickness starts. But and I'm saying that none of us are away from it, because that's how we are conditioned and brought up. But we just need to be aware that this is disturbing me a lot, and which is again a comparison. Fine. Any other thoughts? Great. Anything else? Oh, okay. Good.
Hey Avinash, it's not audible. We can't hear anything in the video.
Okay. I think folks can watch this and lot more material. So as you guys know, there is lot of funda available. Right? So it doesn't make any sense if we don't retrospect and take a pause and learn. Right? We can talk about it, listen about it, read about it. It becomes like everyone knows eating junk food is bad, but the most profitable business are in the junk. So it's a difference between the knowledge and wisdom. So it's important we retrospect, and you can watch all of these videos. And please do come and share your journey about it. Helps. Okay. Thanks a lot, everyone. Hey, One more question is there. Yeah, Anish, go ahead. Who else is there? Piali, please go ahead.
Hi, Avinash. Could you just name that documentary that you suggested we should watch on Netflix?
Okay, so this is on depression. I think Mind Explained. All right, there is a very beautiful documentary in Netflix called Explained. Right, and there is a documentary on Mind Explained, and it talks about the diamond. Also, it talks about the same thing, right? How it works, and there are a lot of good, interesting aspects are there. Yeah.
Thanks.
There is one more research book called it's written by a monk, Wellness Sense. So where he has talked about what are the key diseases which happens because of our emotions. When we have envy, anger, and other stuff, how do we identify it? So, right, Wellness Sense. So if you're interested, you can read that. Any
So
other
folks,
questions? Yeah.
folks, I just want to highlight here, there is a employee wellness program that we have. So you must have received mail from updates, right? So if anyone requires any sort of help on emotional well-being and all, please take use of that helpline.
Any more questions, thoughts, views to share? No? Okay. Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.